Federico, how are you?
Good yourself? Can you hear
Uh,
me?
we're, yeah, I can hear you perfectly. We're doing great.
Awesome.
We'll give we'll give everyone a few minutes to connect with us. But how was your day today? What's going on at the
Hot,
estate?
super hot.
Hot?
The temp
What
uh,
temperature?
it's around 35 degrees, so it's supposed to be the hottest week so far in Italy, and probably it'll be the hottest week for this summer. So it's
Wow. And do
no
you
wind.
no,
Go ahead.
really no wind? Do
Yeah.
you use irrigation at the estate?
Actually, it is not allowed to use irrigation unless the plants are very stressed.
Right.
Uh, but we haven't got irrigation plants all over the place. We just
Right.
start with a new investment. So we are planting two new actors, and then
Hmm.
two others will follow shortly. And in that part, actually, we started also with irrigation plants. So the little baby vines actually are being irrigated these days. Just some drops when it. But they'll be productive in 4 or 5 years. So I mean,
Okay.
you that now. Otherwise, you're not allowed unless there are specific weather conditions. But you
That
never do
makes
that. You just do it when it's extremely necessary.
right. Exactly. Well, that's crazy weather. I know it's been hot all over Europe. Must make things challenging in the vineyards, especially. So, but I know you have a lot of old vines there. Are most of your vines older, or have you replanted some late recently?
We replanted in 2016 four new actors in one of the three main parts, which is called Le Martine. We also have a wine named after that
Yeah.
Podere, call it. Um, uh, then we're currently replanting, well, planting actually, not replanting, four hectares, and we will be moving in the next 10 years, 10 hectares in the Madre part. Again, we also have um, another wine, another Super Tuscan named after this household, this Podera. So out of the 10 hectares, they will all be explanted and replanted, but only 6 hectares will be replanted in the same part after conducting two soils analysis. So we
Nice.
understood exactly the potential on each and every inch of soil all over the place. And 4 other hectares will be planted in new parts. That's why we have these new vineyards currently being planted these days.
Oh, that's
So
very
it's a
cool.
long plan actually. It'll take kind of 8 to 10 years to
Wow.
do that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. You have your hands full. It sounds like so. Well,
Well,
let's go ahead and kick it off. Today, I'll just give everybody a brief intro, show them a few maps of where your estate is located, and then I'll hand it over to you for just a bit of a brief history, and we can start talking about the estate. So today, thank you everyone for joining. I know we have more people joining as we go, but we're joined here today by Federico Trost. He's the general manager of Poggio Antico, located in Montalcino, Italy. So let me give you just a brief bit of a lay of the land here of where we are today. So we are within Italy. Towards the northwest, you'll see Tuscany is the dark purple region there. So if we zoom in on Tuscany, you can see Chianti towards the top, along with Florence. South of Tuscany, you see a black dot there for Siena. And directly south of Siena, we have Montalcino. So Montalcino is really just one large hilltop in all of the vineyards surrounding. So I'm going to zoom in quickly, if I can find the image here, to show you, zoom into Montalcino. So Montalcino is, again, just this one main hill, and the different red dots are the wineries, the estates around the main town of Montalcino, which is an old citadel sitting on top of this hill. So Poggio Antico is located directly south of town, which is the large white dot. And it's tough to see here, but they're number 8. So they're directly south, a little southwest of the town there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Federico just to give us just a bit of history and to talk about their unique terroir.
Important to point out that we're facing southwest, as you said, but we're also in one of the highest part of the Montalcino municipality. Actually, it's around 500 meters, which is kind of 1,600 feet,
Right.
just here. And that's why this is a unique terroir, because, of course, our wines tend to be very elegant, even in this kind of days or years, hot days that we're going through in the past 10 years, especially. So 30 years ago it was a little harder to make wines at this altitude. Nevertheless, we've always done it in a perfect way, very clean, very elegant. But these days it's definitely a plus to be in the highest part. So I would say that we're the highest in terms of elevation, of course, producer on average in Montalcino. So that's why we benefit both from the solar effect of the inclination of the rays, which is of course key for the ripening of the grapes, and also for the marine breeze that actually gets to here. And we're also protected by Mount Amiata, which is the highest mountain in the surrounding. So we're in a very unique part. I know that everybody says so, but in the case of Montalcino and Montalcino especially, it is really true, believe me.
So you were speaking earlier about a soil survey. So that's something interesting. 2 different soil surveys. So tell me a bit about that. Why were you doing those, and what were the results?
Yeah. Since we came on board, because in 2017, Poggio Antico changed hands, so there's a new ownership, which appointed me as general manager straight away. So we started together this new adventure. We wanted, as I said, understand exactly the potential of the soil all over the place. We have 3 main areas. One is called Poggio, which is the central one, where we usually make the highest line and the Reserva for sure when we release it. And then we have Madre and Le Martine. So even if Poggio Antico, the perimeter of Poggio Antico is entirely in the same place, so that the vineyard, all the vineyards are within the same perimeter, and also the winery itself and the cellar is actually at the center of the state, which enables us, of course, quick processing and avoid us to drive through country roads here
Right.
and there, because Montalcino is quite large as a territory in terms of the municipality. So we have all these advantages, but we wanted to know more from a scientific point of view. But don't worry, because we have Claudio here, who is the vineyard manager, who's been forever. He was really born here in Poggio Antico, in the very house of I Poggi, where we have the new shop. Currently for the visitors that we reopen, as you correctly said,
Yeah.
even in COVID-19 times. So Claudio, of course, has got a fantastic experience. It dates back 45 vintages here, harvest here. So we cross data, scientific and analytic data, electric resistivity mapping and composition of the soils. We went through 50 we did dig in 50 holes all around the different vineyards twice for the 2 analysis. But we also have this big plus, having still Claudio on board, that retired actually 3 years ago as I came on board, but we asked him to stay with us a little longer, and he is still with us. And the son also has been employed by us, so that the family and the tradition will carry on. And unfortunately, let me just say that tomorrow will be the last day of work for Leah, who is the wife of Claudio, who's been here since 1892. So it's a long time. Tomorrow is her last day of school, as we say.
Oh, wow.
So we wanted to have this scientific approach, but always together with our own experience. So the rest of the team stayed on board, and it's very important to carry on, all the traditions as well. So of course, modern method, but always with mixed, let's say, with tradition, because it's very important for the wine business, wine industry. I mean, for the winemaking in general.
Yeah, exactly.
And
No,
we
you're very lucky.
the soil, of course, because the vineyard is the most important part of the whole thing.
No, you're very lucky to, well, first of all, backing up, congratulations to your promotion a few years ago. But you're extremely lucky to have that old resource of the family and to continue on a sort of carrying on a new tradition. So
Yeah.
it's the ideal situation, it sounds like. I wanted to mention something else we were speaking about earlier was about your transition to more sustainable and organic farming as well.
Exactly. So again, we started back then as we came on board, but it was already something that also the former proprietor wanted to go through. So we applied for the organic certification. It takes 3 years of practices, and we're proud to say that finally we made it. We are about to be to make it, because in 20 days we'll be certified. So
Oh,
2020 the first organic harvest ever here. We've been sustainable for quite a long time, of course, as you can imagine, but from now on we'll be even more, organic and focused on the balance of the terroir itself, of the soil and the nature through these practices. So it's
that's
very
very
important.
cool.
It's not a commercial action. It's more to, and it's also related to the soil survey that the two soil surveys that we conducted. So to be in perfect balance with what the nature, of course, offers through, of course, the interaction of the so-called human factor.
Right. Well, no, and I know that's a big step.
You
It's
can
not easy to do.
go
So,
in picture, of course, with green manure all over. So that's something that we've been doing for, let's say, 4 or 5 years, and especially in the past, in order
that's
to
very cool.
help retain the rain and the waters and so on. It's something good for the future, of course, not only for the present day.
Yeah, of course. And I know it's not the easiest thing to do, especially in Tuscany. So I realize that it's a big step. So,
Especially in 2018, where we had a lot of rain compared to this year, and that was quite tough. It's been the first year of course, organic practices. Totally, you cannot use any kind of products. So it was, we had a lot of headaches, a lot of a lot of nights up, let's say, because we cannot sleep that well back then. But we went through, we carried on, and so we're very happy that we are almost at the goal now.
yeah, exactly. That's exciting. So 2020 will be the first certified organic vintage. Very cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about, because I know there's a lot of meticulous practices in the harvest. So why don't you take us through and the sorting process I wanted to get to, because it's pretty specific.
So we identify 14 units of soil that could be regrouped into 4 macro groups, but let's say, not to be too boring about it, let's say that we intervene during the harvest using the so-called plot by plot approach, or micro terroir philosophy, so that we tend to harvest hectare by hectare, even if it's in the same part of the state, because of course even a vineyard of 4 hectares can have very different, well, not very, but different characteristics from one part to another. So that's what we do. We limit of course, all these zones, areas that we identify, and then we harvest them separately, and we also ferment them separately. First of all, they go through a very accurate sorting process, which used to be totally manual, made by 15 people, but since 2 years we started using the optical sorter. So it all starts, as you're showing, with the first table, let's say sorting table. It is still the same as you see here in the picture, and then we go through the optical sorter, which is a machine that is based on a 3-camera technology that identify, of course, all the perfect berries and expels those who are not perfectly ripened, has the right shape and the right color that shows the maturation and the ripening, and also the external bodies such as, you know, leaves and whatever. So there's a sort of line of air compressed snipers at the end that actually after the system memorizes all the berries that go through, they actually shoot on the bad ones, and so they expel those berries from the line, so that only the perfect berries pass the exam, as we say. And we do that. That's very important for all the wines all of our wines that we produce, which are, of course, 100% homegrown, estate grown. So we don't source any grape, any liquid from outside. Whatever we put in the bottle is definitely Poggio Antico, 100%. That process is super strict, and it's a game for all the wines that we make. From the Rosso di Mars, the Brunellos, the regular or the Altero, the Selection, the Riserva, and also the 2 Super Tuscans.
So it's a fascinating machine, and the question came across I wanted to ask you. Is it a popular tool to use that optical sorter? Because it sounds pretty amazing. I imagine it's expensive, though, too.
Yeah, your guess is totally right. I can tell you if you want, but how much it costs, but it's quite a lot. It's getting more and more popular also in Italy and also in Montalcino as well, you know. So there are a few wineries that started using that in the past years. So we're one of the first, of course, with our dimensions, because there was another one larger years ago, but let's say that now it's getting more and more popular as well, you know, because sometimes you know that there's more poetry in seeing 15 people moving little berries, as in this picture, but sometimes it's less effective, and we're totally committed to quality, so we need something perfect. And in addition to that,
well, yeah, it ensures the
not
quality.
only it's fantastic for the store itself, but also enables us to, because it's super fast, it also enables us actually to harvest separately all these parts, all these plots, because otherwise you would have to start and go through, you know, like 15 to 20 days. But now we can stop, start over again, stop again. That's what we especially did last year when we totally understood the potential of this machinery. And that's why we're thrilled also about the 2019 vintage, which is fantastic. And we've been tasting it, of course, currently. It'll just to be, you know, we'll just have to be very patient, because it still takes 4 years for the release, because it takes 5 years to make a Brunello di Montalcino from the harvest here. So, but prospects are definitely incredibly good. And of course, these tanks that you see, these fermenting vats, are smaller than the ones that we had at the beginning. So we invested also in this smaller vats, which are around 50 hectoliters, because of course we want to follow this sector from that we identify from the harvest through the of course fermentation, and that's why we needed smaller vats. So now we have new vats of stainless steel, as usual, as we've always had in the past 20 years, but also we have new vats, the concrete untreated cement vats, which are very good for the fermentation as well, you know. And we're we started last year with this new egg shape cement fats, and it's very interesting because you can really tell the difference between the fermentation that happens, that occurs in one of those and the stainless steel. So we had an hectare, 2 hectares very close together of the same unit of soil. We fermented it both in cement and in stainless steel, and you could tell that there were differences from the very start. So that's also very interesting, very stimulating. And then the goal, of course, is to make great wine, and that's why also what you obtain from this hectare, 5,000 kilos of grapes, which then convert into kind of 28 hectoliters of juice, of wine, actually, after the fermentation. And that's why we also invested a lot in smaller casks as well. 90% made by Austrian producers, and few French as well, and Italians also. So we have yeah, exactly that picture. You're a good DJ. You follow me very well. So that this sector can be tracked, let's say, from the harvest through the fermentation to the final part, which is, of course, the aging, the wood aging, which has to be at least for 2 years by regulation. Then we do, well, 2.5 years of aging in this kind of casks, you know.
So this is the most traditional method. So let's, if you don't mind, I want to jump to a few wines and use them as examples as you're speaking here. So
I have
your
wines.
classic, exactly.
The Brunello, exactly. The 2015. Yeah, go on.
So 2015, I know was a legendary vintage, and even I think this is James Suckling here called it a fairy tale vintage. So that's mostly what we're working with currently, are the 2015. So we're very lucky at the moment at this time in history. So
yeah, because the 2015, of course, was released in January this year. So it's the current vintage. Everybody was waiting for the 2015 to be released. 2014 was not that good in general. We took a very hard decision not to produce any Brunello in 2014. So we really wanted the 15 to be in the market, and we're very happy. You mentioned Suckling. He gave us 97 points on both the regular Brunello and the Altero that we will discuss about just in a while. Exactly. So the regular Brunello, as you define it in America, we just call it Brunello di Montalcino Poggio Antico, the one with the white label, is let's say I would say the most classic Brunello, aged in big casks, still of 40 to 45 hectoliters. And then aged refined for 1 year in bottle. So and it represents also the estate in his best parts as a whole. So it's not a real single vineyard. It's top berries, let's say top grapes coming from the different parts of the estate. So it's a blend that represents Poggio Antico as a whole. With the characteristic of the 3 parts, even if it's still mainly from I Poggi area, but it has some berries coming also from Madre and from Le Martine.
So let's compare that to the Altero. So that's also Brunello di Montalcino, same vintage. What's the difference?
Barrique selection or cellar selection. And it comes from 2 corners of 2 vineyards, which are right in front or in the back of the cellar itself. So it always comes from there, and so comes the reserve at the same parts. Exactly. So it's you see one of the vineyards in the back of that's one of the corner, which is the origin of the Altero. But the selection is always made after the fermentation. We go through many sessions, of course, tasting sessions and then blending sessions. And the best batches actually to be aged in the double barrique or the tonneau, which is the 500-liter coopers. You know, it's larger than the barrique, which is 225 liters, but still a lot smaller. Exactly, you have that. These are the tonneau. So it ages there for 2 years, and then we give him 2 other years of bottle refinement, so that the wine tends to be a little bit more open when you release it, and a little bit more, I wouldn't say immediate, but let's say a little bit more explosive at the nose especially. And you know the story about a few years ago, Mr. Obama gave him as a present to the Speaker of the House back then, which was Mr. Bonner. So in a meeting at the White House, he said, "Oh, Mr. Bonner, we know it's your birthday, but no worry, we have, even if you had to come here, we have a birthday gift for you." And then you see Mr. Bonner getting out with a sort of golden package, and then he tweeted what the gift was, and it was a bottle of Altero 1997, which was definitely a very good vintage.
Yeah, no, spectacular vintage. Yeah.
So a few years ago. So Altero is definitely let's call it our American wine because it gets to be very, especially back then and ever since, you know. So the classic Brunello, which is the regular, tends to be, you know, a little bit more traditional, as I would say. This one tends to be a little bit more concentrated with more extract and a little bit more intense at the nose. But again, since 2015 especially, during the blending session, we really wanted both Brunellos to be spectacular because, of course, this one is our benchmark. We're talking about 90,000 bottles in total, let's say, so 35,000 only of the Brunello, and only 15,000 bottles, not cases, bottles of Altero. So it's, we're selective, so they're both, I wouldn't say one is the base Brunello and the other one, they're both top selections, but they're just 2 different expressions of the way we work of the terroir and of the soil.
Yeah, it's very cool, especially as a wine geek like me, because you have same estate. All of the grapes that you produce are 100% estate grown, so all from your estate, but made in 2 different styles.
Of course.
Right. And then let's talk about the Reserva. So 5 years for the Brunellos. Now, I don't think you make a Reserva every year. It's only in specific years, correct?
Correct. That's why we're still with the 2012. We didn't release any in 13, 14 for sure. No Brunellos, not Reserva for sure. And the 2015, which hopefully will be a great wine, will be released next January. So it takes 5 years for the Brunello di Montalcino, but it takes 6 years to release the Brunello di Montalcino Riserva. And so it's a combination of both large cask aging and tonneau for a total amount of kind of 3.5 years, and then almost 2 years of bottle refinement, of course, before the release. So it's a long, long work that starts, of course, but then of course it also goes on in the cellar and in the aging part.
That wine's spectacular. I've had the 2012 several times, and it always delivers. You know, I like the additional bottle aging, but I'm excited for the 15s as well. That's going to be exciting. I wanted to speak on 2 more wines before we try to wrap up here. So you mentioned earlier the Madre, which is a super Tuscan blend, right?
Correct. It's a super Tuscan, 50% Sangiovese and 50% Cabernet Sauvignon, coming from the Podere Madre, which is that heart-shaped vineyard. Maybe you have some pictures in your set, in your DJ set. Let's see if you find it.
I don't know if I have that one. No.
Well, this one is the. Go on. No, maybe you don't. Okay,
I don't think I have it.
Well, no. It's the other part, yeah. And That's why madre means mother, but it's actually the real name of that part of the state that was in the maps even in the 1700s. So it's there used to be people growing, both vineyards and also other agricultural products ever since. Let's say for sure, at least for 300 years. And that's where we have this strip of Cabernet Sauvignon. And this is why we named this wine after that Poder. 18 months of aging in tonneau, and it's great wine actually. Again, all the wine critics also gives it a lot of very good ratings. I know that you Touton track them all, so you're very, very good at it. You know even better than me about the review.
Robert Parker gave it 94 points, and James Suckling gave it 94 points. So it's that one. All of your wines are consistently well rated, but including this one, obviously.
94 plus the 2015 and 94, yeah, correct. So it's amazing. I mean, for a wine that we only produce in 5,000 bottles. And it's sometimes it's a so-called super Tuscan. So when you blend Sangiovese together with an international varietal, and it's very effective, especially in the United States, as you can imagine, because American customers sometimes they tend to be used to the Cabernet Sauvignon. So this one is a good compromise between the Sangiovese and of course what they know better, and that's why it works very well, and it's a very well done wine, I would say. Again, the process is exactly the same. Of course, what changes is how we select the wines during the blending session. This one is a little bit rounder. It has still the acidity, which is the freshness that is typical to Sangiovese and of the terroir where we're in. So you can tell it's Poggio Antico still, but with a sort of modern touch for sure.
It's a good introduction, like you said. It's a good introduction to the appellation and the style, but it also has a bit of that modern feel to it. So I want to speak also, before we run out of time, about your most recent project, or at least the most recent that we've gotten our hands on.
Martina,
yeah.
Le Martina, the blend is still 50% Sangiovese, but in this case, the blend is with 25% of Cabernet Sauvignon and 25% of Petit. So you can tell that it's quite darker, of course, because the Petit Verdot is very marked, both in terms of color and also in terms of spiciness and that kind of peppery sense that you have from the international varietals. It's a fresher wine compared to Madre or the Brunello, and it's very expressive because it's super intense, very nice color with this freshness that invites you to drink more and more, and it goes super well with all kind of food. I mean, you don't need to wait for a special meal. You can have it with a burger, with a sandwich, but also with a steak for sure. So it's a kind of I wouldn't say tactical, but tactical for the pairing. You're out for lunch, you just want to have a great glass of wine without spending $1,000. You can have a glass of Martini, just one, and it's perfect. And you can easily match it with all kind of combination, or even as an aperitif. If it's if you finish working and you just go there, instead of having a beer, you can have a glass of Le Martina, and it's perfect. It's perfect. So it's vibrant, fresher compared to Madre, and you got this, dough coming. It's a kind of unique wine in our line, of course, in our lineup. But still, you can tell it's Poggio Antico, but in this case, it's a little different from the others, but it's very interesting. Usually, it goes very well, especially in a few markets, including the United States, of course, and some other European countries. It's because of this freshness, actually. It's a fruity, very fruity wine, and so, that's why it's very appealing.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, it's not a wine that you have to necessarily cellar or age. You could pop the cork, and it's just gonna be very expressive and show
You don't
right
need
out.
to wait on it for sure. It
Right.
is not a Mediterranean wine, but even if you age it for 5 4 years, it's fantastic. So you can have it super fresh, freshly baked, or after a few years of aging. So
Nice.
it's a great, again, it's very
So
well with
we're
all the,
yeah.
that's us.
So
That's a
before
team.
before we wrap up, I just wanted to show the team here because we are running out of time. But
Yeah.
I know you have a fantastic team there, and it's it's great to hear a bit of the details behind the wines that we love. And I don't. It was surprising to me even before when I was arranging this talk with you, how small production that Poggio Antico is. I believe it's only around 10,000 cases in total. It's surprisingly small.
Yeah, it's a 100. It's 90,000 bottles, so it's even lower in terms of cases. But we
Yeah,
are
and it's
almost 20 people so committed and dedicated to wine, because of course agriculture, it's high investment sector with
right.
lower return compared to others, and you can tell that a small production, very tiny, especially for American standards, but with a lot of people behind, as you can see in this. And we're all joining together tonight to celebrate the retirement of Leah. So it'll be a party night for as soon as we finish here. So because we're a family, as we said, we're a family. I've been here only for 3 years, but talking to the others, it's 10 years, 15 years, 40 years. So it's many vintages in our shows, and that's why we always work together very closely and very close. So that's why it's not just to say, but we are family. That's the best thing I would say in this industry. It's boutiquey, it's
Yeah.
small. You really get along together. You work well together, and it's like not even a second family anymore, because it's practically your first family.
Right.
And
You
it's
spend more time with them. So.
yeah, you can tell, yeah, especially now that I haven't been traveling a lot, as you can understand, because of these restrictions. Actually, my last trip was in the United States, and as soon as I could land in Italy, we were put in a lockdown for a while. Now everything is reopened, so that's why we welcome our visitors again. Of course, totally in a total safe way. Of course, we follow all the regulations that we have to, and we're very happy that we can again welcome those who want to know more about Poggio Antico, because for us we're very oriented to the final consumer. Always been so. People keep on coming here and again, and we always welcome them in a special way. Especially Americans love us. So thank you guys. We love you all because we're quite popular there. We're renowned, and we owe it almost all to the American visitors. So we look forward for them to travel back and come over again to visit us. We receive a lot of messages, that they really feel like coming back again, and look forward to that. And we're really here thrilled about having you
Well, no,
all back
it's
here.
I can't wait to get back to Italy. It's my favorite country in the world, even though I work for a French company. I'll say it. But um, I could just say in closing here, we're just honored to represent Poggio Antico in the United States, and Monsieur Touton is just delighted to continue the partnership and keep up the great work and stay safe, and hopefully we'll see you sooner than later.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you.
Of course. So we're a bit out of well, we went a bit over, but again, thank you again, Federico. Amazing
Thank you
information. Enjoy the party tonight, and hopefully we'll see you soon.
so much.
Okay. Ciao. Thank you very much.
We'll drink a lot of Brunello for you.
Please, yes, an extra bottle for me.